So here we'll make a little video for this, so in case you want to look at this later, comparing rational numbers. If you want to find out which number is bigger, and you've got 4/5 or 2/3. Okay, you can just imagine it. Imagine, can you break up a chocolate bar into 5 equal pieces and you have 4 of them? Or you break up a chocolate bar into 3 equal pieces and you have 2 of them. Which one do you think is bigger? Okay, then, well, I don't know. Let's see. If here's my one chocolate bar. And I break it up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal pieces. And here's that same chocolate bar broken up into 3 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Or 1, 2, 3. Which one would you have more chocolate? Looks like the 4/5. Now, that's just an estimate. I could have drawn my lines wrong, or it's not perfect. I'm just doing a visual, but it does look like 4 out of the 5 pieces would be bigger than 2 out of 3 pieces, because the piece that's gone is bigger out of the 3 piece than it is out of the 4/5 piece. Yes?
I had really spicy chocolate with Pop Rocks in it. It was actually really good.
It does sound kind of delicious.
It sounds disgusting, but it's really good.
Now, if we wanted to figure this out without our calculator, a way of comparing them is if we had the same size of pieces. So we do that with a common denominator. What would a common denominator be between 5 and 3? 15.
Could I have something to like prop up my desk? Because it keeps on going back and forth.
Why don't you just move up one desk? Okay. So we would multiply this by 3 and this by 3. That would give us 12 out of 15. Yes? Yeah. Here, if we wanted to get this to be over 15, we'd multiply this by 5 and multiply this one by 5. That would give us 10 out of 15. Now that we have a common denominator, now we're talking about the same sizes of pieces. Basically what we did with our chocolate bar is we took this one with thirds and divided them all into 3. No, we divided those into 15, sorry. Get rid of those lines. We divided this one 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we had 15 pieces. Now we'd have 10 pieces that are all smaller. And the other one, we would have 12 pieces if each of these got split into 3. So that we're comparing the same size. And now we can say which one's bigger. The 4/5 is bigger because 12 over 15 is bigger than 10 over 15. A symbol for showing something is bigger than something else. Pac-Man. Which way does the Pac-Man go?
It eats the bigger one.
It eats the bigger one. Okay? And one thing that I find as far as reading goes, and you have to read in math, if you were reading this, 4/5 is greater than 2/3. So the Pac-Man thing does eat the bigger one. One thing for reading is I always look, do you hit 2 dots first or do you hit 1 dot first? Right here, if you're reading from left to right, you would hit the 2 dots, the bigger side, and then that means it's greater than. If you read it this way, in math you can read things backwards. 2/3 is less than 4/5 if I read backwards, because I would just hit the single point first, not 2 points. So that's one way that we can figure this out. So this is how you would do it if you didn't have a calculator, and a question was on a non-calculator part of a quiz or a test. You would get a common denominator so you could compare the same sizes to the same sizes. If you had a calculator, method 2, you would go to your calculator, and 4/5 means 4 divided by 5, and your calculator would tell you that that's a decimal, it's equal to 0.8. If you do 4 divided by 5, you'll get 0.8. And if you go to your calculator and do 2 divided by 3, you get 0.666, and it would keep on going. Eventually, I guess you could round it to a 7, or it'd be 0.6 repeated. And then you need to compare these. Now, which one's bigger when you look at the decimals? Well, the zeros are the same, but as soon as we go to the tenths, we've got 8 tenths here and only 6 tenths here. This one is larger. Now, with negative numbers, we can do the same thing in negative numbers. We can change them both to decimals or change them both to fractions. If we change them to fractions, we'd have negative 4/5 and negative 2/3. This would be negative 12 over 15, and the other one would be negative 10 over 15. Which one is bigger now? You have to be careful with negative numbers, because if we have our number line here as 0, and we're going to our negative numbers, which is in this direction, which number would you hit first before you got to negative 1? If you split this up into 15ths, which means 15 equal sections. Okay, I'm not counting them. I probably didn't do enough. I did 12, so I need to move this. Oops. Move that a little bit. Here we go. Whoa, that turned red on me. So that was a 12, 13, 14, 15. If we did 15 equal sections, then that would mean the first one would be negative 1/15, then negative 2/15. Going this way, can you see that you would hit negative 10/15 before you would hit negative 12/15? And so now, which one's bigger? This one is the bigger one, because it's farther to the right. But negatives blows your mind sometimes. Okay. Just like negative 10 is bigger than negative 12. Even though 12 is a bigger number than 10, when you're doing negatives, it's still farther to the right. So we would say that negative 2/3 is bigger than negative 4/5.
So it's like saying if you're comparing a positive fraction to a negative number, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, if it was a positive fraction or negative one, it'd be easy, because the positive one, no matter what it is going to be a bigger number than the negative one. Now, if we change these to decimals, we did it with fractions first. In decimals, this one is negative 0.8, and this one is negative 0.67 if you'd round it. And you're asking which is bigger, right? The negative 0.67 is bigger, because you would, on your number line, here's 0, here's 1. This time I'll split it into 10 equal sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. All equally spaced apart. Obvious. Now, if you split it into 10, we're going negative 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. Negative 0.67 would be somewhere in there. 0.7, 0.8 would be negative 0.8 would be right there. The negative 0.67 is bigger. And you could think of that, you would rather owe 67 cents to someone than owe somebody 80 cents. I mean, it's a dime and a couple pennies. It wouldn't make a big difference, but they don't even make the pennies anymore, so then they probably would come after you with a bat because you didn't pay them back.
Well, unless you pay them a little bit more than you should.
That's right.
Then you'll kill you with a bat.
You could give them 70 cents and
Yeah.
you'd be fine. So I'd like you to try these, okay? Wherever there's the question mark, maybe we'll erase those question marks.
Oh, you erased it.
Okay, and we'll put a box in there instead, and I want you to, in each of these boxes, either put a greater than sign, a less than sign, or an equal sign. So, on this side we have negative 9 over 6. On this side we have 3 over negative 2. Where the negative is doesn't matter. Those are both fractions that are negative. This, 9 over 6, you can reduce it to lowest terms and it becomes negative 3 over 2. So these two are the same.
Oh, it's right.
Now if I mess up, I can't white out anything.
And that's why you double check.
If you did them both as decimals, if you went negative 9 divided by 6 or 3 divided by negative 2, you would have got negative 1.5 on both sides. So using your calculator, it would have told it was equal as well. So if you go to the next one and you did the calculator method, negative 3 over 5 is negative 0.6. Because the one side's in a decimal, we may as well change the other side to a decimal as well. If we think of our number line between 0 and negative 1, and we divide it into 10 equal sections, you would hit negative 0.6 right there, and you would have to keep on going a little bit further to get to negative 0.0666666 repeated. So which one's bigger? Negative 0.6, so the sign would look like this. A negative divided by a negative is positive. So this, when you simplify it, becomes negative 13 over 10 because the inside would be positive, but there's still a negative outside.
But wouldn't you do like a positive sign instead of a negative sign since like negative?
These two, so basically, if you have an even amount of negatives, it's positive. If you have an odd amount of negatives, it will stay negative. So here we have 3 negatives, so it stayed negative.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Now, negative 1 and 3/10 is a mixed fraction. If I wanted to change this to an improper fraction, 10 times 1 is 10 plus 3 makes 13. So this is also equal to negative 13 over 10. And those ones are equal.
Oh, because it has all the numbers, like it's 13, 10, but it's like 1, 3.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it's the same numbers.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time that well,
It's not
well, if it would work with anything with 10. So negative 1 and 4/10,
yeah.
it'll work with tens. So this side is a decimal. So I'm going to go to my calculator, do 1 divided by 5, and find out that that's 0.2. So this side is negative 3.2. Now when I'm thinking about my number line,
One doesn't have a number. Yes, it does. It's
Negative 12.
0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. And if I imagine between negative 3 and negative 4 split up into 10 pieces, where am I going to hit first? I'm going to hit negative 3.1, negative 3.2 I'm going to hit first, and then I'm going to hit negative 3.25. So the negative 3.2 is the bigger one. The Pac-Man eats the bigger one.
mine doesn't have a number. Yes, it does.
It should on the edge. If it doesn't on the edge, then it should have it on the inside cover. 2009-94. That's your number. This one, if we change these both to decimals, did someone do this earlier? 8 divided by 12, do you get negative 0.666 repeated? Yes? And 11 over 15. What happens when we do that on our calculator? Negative 0.73. Yes?
What if your fish eats your number? Sure, I don't remember that. Fish eats homework.
Hey, you know what my routine is?
Or your
Actually, my hat.
So if we were going to the left, you would hit this one first. So this one is bigger.
oh my gosh. Do you have whiteout next?
I don't know if I have whiteout anymore.